Hey everybody, my name is Kimber Van Rye. I am playing tonight from Brooklyn, New York. I am president of Metropolitan Wargamers based here in Brooklyn, New York. We are the city's largest and oldest continuously operating wargaming and board gaming group in the city. We've been around since 1984. Usually on a Friday night, I find myself at our club space playing with a dozen people over 6 or 8 tables with games. And during the current shutdown and sheltering in place, I'm coming Friday nights with some examples of play live of some games that I really enjoy. Tonight I am playing Empires in America from Victory Point Games. This came out about 6 years ago. It is a solo game as written. It is not a two-person game. It's not a three-person game. It is only written as a solo game. And I'm a big fan of the French and Indian War period, 1754 to 1763. And I find that this game really captures a lot of the tensions and dynamics of that really well. And it plays in maybe an hour, hour and a half, depending on explanation and so on. The map presents sort of the northeast of North America at that point, with the focal point being Montreal here, and this is the end game for the British player. And in this game, the British player is actually the game itself. The player, myself, will be playing the French, trying to prevent the British from capturing Montreal. So I'm basically working on pushing the British back, keeping them at bay, and keeping them out of Montreal for the game. There are 5 different tracks that the British armies move across. They start based here in Virginia, in the Ohio Valley track. The second track is this Champlain track, which goes from New York City up through the Hudson River Valley, Lake Champlain, Fort Carillon, Ticonderoga, and on to Montreal. There is an upper Main track, which starts in this vaguely placed New England space and goes through the Hampshire's Green Mountains and then on to Montreal that way. And there's a St. Lawrence track, which starts here in Halifax, goes through Louisbourg, and down through the St. Lawrence River through Quebec, Trois-Rivières, and then on to Montreal. And then the final track is here in the northern Great Lakes region, starting up here at this abstractly placed Hudson's Bay, up through the Upper Lakes, Fort Detroit, Niagara, Frontenac, and then on to Montreal. So there are 5 ways that the British game are moving in towards Montreal, and the French player, myself, is going to try to keep them all at bay. As the game starts set up, there are armies in each one of these 5 starting places for the British. There's one British general in play, and that is General Braddock, who is the beginning general for this game. I'm going to get a little more light in here. Each one of the cards in this game displays here on the left a strength of the general, a leadership strength. In this case, Braddock is a 1. And then there are 2 tracks. There's a reputation track as well as a strength track. The strength track represents broadly battalions, and then the reputation for all starting leaders starts at a mediocrity, and that goes down and up as the game progresses, as they win or lose victories, and that can affect whether or not they are removed at different points from the game. So as the general leader cards are placed on the board, they each get a token that tracks their full battalion strength as well as their starting strength at mediocrity on the reputation track. That's the starting British card on the board. The French player starts with Langlade, also slightly weaker at 2 battalions, also starting at a mediocrity reputation track. They start with some Troupes de la Marine as a troop bonus, a light troops bonus, and I'll get to that a little bit as we go through the turn order, but they can assist Langlade or other leaders in attacks and so on as they go through. And then I have one card in my hand, and this is the standard setup for the game. The nice thing about this game is pretty much all the rules, once you've read through the rule book, are right here on the board. So you've got a sequence of play. Once you get into a battle sequence, it takes you through that. It talks about initiative and so on in those battles, what happens when you determine a victor in a battle, and then the aftermath of that battle. Things will move around, reputations will be gained and lost, and so on. And then new leaders will come in and out of the game, and this gives priority for where those leaders are placed and which tracks move first. Each one of these 5 routes of the British Army are referred to as tracks. One of the things I really like about this game is the dynamic of there will be a lot of leaders showing up, being removed, being replaced, moving around, and so on. And that shows that dynamic for this very disruptive period in the 1750s and 1760s when France and Great Britain were swapping leadership in and out of this colonized region as they vied for this part of North America. So in the sequence of play, at the beginning of each round, until the 7 Years' War starts, the 7 Years' War is actually the broader sort of worldwide conflict. French and Indian War is the part that took place here in North America, of course. And so cards are going to be drawn 4, one at a time at the top of a turn until the war breaks out. This deck of cards in the bottom half of the deck is a War Breaks Out card that's been shuffled in randomly. So I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen sometime after 3 initial rounds of card draws. So I'm going to draw the first card, and the first card is a Wyandot Indians Provincials card for the French, and so this immediately goes down here into my French forces. These cards down here are referred to in the game as your tableau of French leaders, French forces, bonuses, and so on. Second card that comes up is a British Provincials card. This is artillery fortress siege battery that's going to help the British when they get to sieges, and we'll get to that. That goes on the left side of my French cards. This will be used by the game and the British player as things happen and battles and sieges happen. The next card is a world event card. So this is going to happen right now, and then it's going to be taken right out of the game. It's a one-time event. It's a world event. This is the map of North America. This is going to say the first battle of the turn. It's going to change how initiative is determined. So I'm going to leave this to the side. A battle may or may not happen in this first round, so that card might not even come into play. And then the fourth card turn, it's another world event. It's a Frontier in Flame. I'm going to roll a die, adding +1 for each Indian card in the tableau. Well, I just drew the Wyandot Indian card, so I'm going to add +1 to this die roll. Everything in this game is a 6-sided die. So I'm going to roll a die. I get a 5 + 1 is a 6. If it was a 4 or less, there were going to be a removal of British cards. If it's 5 or more, each British leader receives 1 or more replacement. This is not going to apply in this case because the British haven't taken any losses, and so there are no replacements. This card is now done. It's trashed out of the game. And when I get to discarding cards, I'll show you what these different piles, the draw pile, the discard pile, and this what they call the recycle pile. But in this case, that's a one-time event, and that gets trashed and thrown out of the game. So that's called the historique phase, where you draw cards, 4 cards here at the beginning of the game. Next, it goes into the British phase. So it's going to rally or recall leaders. This is when new leaders, old leaders might leave the game. If there were 2 or more British leaders than French leaders, you reduce the number of British leaders down to, so there's only 1 more than the French leaders. Right now we're 1-to-1, so that doesn't really matter. They are going to advance their led armies. So any one of these tracks that has a leader in it, right now it's only the Ohio Valley that has Braddock here. it's going to advance based on his command points. Braddock is a number 1 leader, so he's going to go 1 move up here into the Alleghenies. Broadly probably about where Fort Necessity was, or on his way there. So now the choice that that's nothing happens there immediately. If I had on the French side an ambush card, I might be able to intercept that and stop it. Right now I don't have that kind of card, so that movement is just going to happen for the British. And that's it for the British phase right now. It's very easy. Now it's going to be the French phase. French the same thing, don't have to remove any leaders or replace leaders right now, so that's not going to happen. The way the French get things done in this game is through the gaining of action points. Each round, the French get from 1 to 5 action points. Action points allow you to start battles, play cards, build forts and trading posts, and I'll get to that as it happens. Right now I only have 1 leader on the board, that's Langlade, and he has a command value of 1, so I'm only going to get 1 action point. There's not a whole lot you can do with 1 action point. It takes 2 to build a fort, 2 to build a trading post. If you had a trading post on the board, you can use that by spending 1 point to replace losses to your troops. Right now there's no losses to troops, there's no trading posts on the board. The only thing I could do with that 1 point right now is either play a card out of my hand so I have it on the table, or I could start a battle. It costs 1 point to start a battle. I could start a battle right now and try to push the British back out of the Ohio Valley. But for right now, I'm going to play 1 point just to get this other card on the board, which is the Quebec Militia. And on these militia cards, let me see if I can get some more light in here again. On these militia cards, you'll see there's some ribbons. In this case, the Quebec Militia can be applied on the white, blue, and brown tracks. So that's specifically only on the St. Lawrence, Upper Main, or Champlain tracks, and they could add and contribute to a battle there. So they're all color-coded, so it could be in the Champlain, the St. Lawrence, or the Upper Main. So any of these 3 tracks. There's no battles in those tracks. I'm not going to use that now. I could start an attack on the Ohio Valley, but I've played this 1 point to put this card into my tableau. Okay, and that's it. I've spent my action points. Right now, at the end, there's a housekeeping phase, and I would remove any markers. Right now, I didn't place any markers for battles or actions taken or anything like that. We'll get to that. And then I would sack French leaders. If French leaders are below a certain level in the reputation, they get removed and replaced with new leaders. But that's it. That was 1 quick first turn. We're back to the beginning of the turn. I'm going to draw 4 more cards. So the first card in this case, I've got a British leader. This is Monroe joining the efforts here. So first I'm going to determine where that leader gets placed. And I roll 2 6-sided dice and I add those values together. And so I'm going to roll these dice. That's an 8, a 5 and a 3 is an 8. So this tells me it's going to come in the Champlain space. There's no leader there right now. So I'm going to just put Monroe there. I'm going to mark him with a mediocrity reputation, which he starts with, as well as a battalion 2 strength point to start with. So he just goes there, and now he's going to be able to command these troops in Champlain. Second card up, British provincials. This goes right into the British side of the tableau, and these are some provincials that are going to be able to help the war effort for the British as attacks begin. And again, this militia for the British comes with a ribbon on it that has a green ribbon, meaning this can only be used in the Ohio Valley. Third card, another world event. This is an epidemic striking the Indians. I'm going to roll a die for each Indian card in the tableau. Right now I only have 1, my French Wyandot allied Indians, and I am going to roll a die. It's a 6, which tells me there's no effect and they remain available. On a 1, 2, or 3, they would have been removed. And then the fourth card on the draw, I'm going to get another French leader. This is, my French is always horrible, Dieskau, and he goes into my tableau, and likewise I'm going to mark him with a battalion of 4 strength, so he's pretty strong, and a reputation at mediocrity. His command points are also 2, so now I have 2 French leaders in the mix, and I have 2 British leaders in the mix. So now things are going to escalate a little bit more in the game. I'm going to try to get a little more light. All right, so that's the historique phase where I'm drawing the cards. I've drawn 4 cards. It goes right to the British phase. Rally and recall leaders. So I'm not going to remove any leaders because right now I'm at equal numbers of leaders. There's 2 to 2 here. No reason to recall any of these because they're all at a decent enough reputation and so on. Now they're going to advance their lead armies. So again, Braddock has a command of 1. So he's going to move up here to Fort Duquesne. Monroe has a 1, so he's going to move 1 up here to Fort William Henry. 1 space. And that's it for the British. So they're going to stop there. Now it's the French turn. Again, I don't have to rally or remove any French leaders. There's an equal number of leaders. Nobody's taken any loss in their reputations. So I am going to go right into figuring out what my action points are. Now my action points are, I've got 1 for Langlade, 2 for Dieskau, and so I have 3 this round. The other thing to note here, now that I have Dieskau on the board, each one of the French leaders has a special a special action that they can do once per turn. So Dieskau, the bonus that he gets, as long as he's in play, he gets 1 additional action always, and we flip over this action marker to note that when he's in play. So I'm always going to get the number for my command points plus 1 for having Dieskau here. So effectively I have 4 action points now. So as my action points, I could do a bunch of things. I could build some forts, I could start battles and so on. And I think I need to start building some forts in order to prevent the British from moving any deeper in. So right now, the British are only 2 steps away from Montreal here in the Ohio Valley. So I'm going to spend 2 points and build a fort in Oswego, which is 1, 2. It takes me down to 1. I have 1 more point. So 1 more point here in the Ohio Valley. I'm going to start a battle. I'm going to get that down to 0. So let's go through a battle. So this battle is taking place in a wilderness space. They're marked in green. So there's no fort, there's nothing like that. First of all, we determine who has the initiative. So you get your leader rating. So I have to figure out which one of my leaders I'm going to commit to this battle. So I'm going to commit Dieskau, which has got a 2 rating for my leader, and he's got 4 battalions. He's stronger than Langlade. So I'm going to commit him to this battle. And of course, it's going to be Braddock for the British in this battle. Now, the British, what has to happen, and I'm going to determine which cards I'm going to align with Dieskau. So my Wyandot Indians, I'm going to put with Dieskau. It gives me 2 more battalion points, and they also get a light troops bonus because I'm here in a wilderness space. So that helps me out there. On the British side, I have to commit any valid provincial cards to that battle. So he's going to get the Virginia Militia because it's the green band which goes on this Ohio Valley track. So he's going to have that with it. And then this is only being used in a battle against a fortress, so this cannot be used by the British this round. So I'm going to roll off to see who gets to shoot first. Everybody, each side gets plus. Well, let me roll the dice first. So I'm going to use red for the British. British get a 2. I'm going to get a 3 for the French. Now we add some things to it. So you add +1 for your leader rating. Braddock is a 1, so his initiative goes to a 3. Dieskau is a 2, so I go up to a 5. I also get a +1 because I'm in a wilderness space, and I do have light troops in there, so I'm going to go up to 6. So the French have 6 to 3, so the French are going to be able to fire first. So firing, I add up all my battalions. So in this case, Dieskau has 4, plus the Indians have 2, so I'm going to get 6 dice. In a combat, a hit in combat is a 5 or a 6. So on 6 dice, I'm looking for 5s and 6s. And there I got 1 hit with this 6, and then I got 2 more, and I got another 6. So I got 2 hits on the British. So they get reduced immediately from 3, and this marker goes down to 1. I'll do it this way. So they only have a value of 1. Okay. So now the British get to fire back. They have 1, but they also have their Virginia provincials with them, so that's another 3. So they're going to get 4 dice, also needing 5s and 6s. And they get 1 hit. So Dieskau is going to go down to 3. Okay. So Braddock took 2 losses, Dieskau took 1 loss. So the French took less losses, so they're going to win this battle. What does win the battle mean? So Dieskau's reputation is going to go up 1. He's now being recognized. Braddock's is going to go down 1. He's in disrepute. And the Ohio Valley Army is going to retreat 1 space back to the Alleghenies. So I've effectively spent that 1 point to push them back and decreased Braddock's standing in the eyes of the British while increasing Dieskau's. I'm going to mark Dieskau that he's fought a battle this round. And then this provincials card, this Indians that I use, tells me on here, if the French win this battle and suffer no casualties, recycle this card. Otherwise, discard the card. So this is where there are 2 piles. There's a discard pile here. There's a recycle pile here. Once the war breaks out, and that 7 Years' War card comes up, this deck is going to get shuffled in with this deck, and there's going to be a lot more cards in it. So cards that have been previously used are going to go back in here. The discard pile, those cards are for the most part effectively out of play. Now, because I have Dieskau here, I've taken all my command points, but he has this +1 that I can do at the end. So with 1 point, I could do another battle. So I could choose to attack the British here that have moved on Fort William Henry, but I'm not so concerned because they're going to be stopped by the fortress at Ticonderoga. So I'm going to use Langlade, and he's going to fight Braddock over here this time. This time I am going to use my, what am I going to do? Am I going to use a card? And this provincials card. He could still use this round. You know what? I'm not gonna attack him. I'm gonna pass because during the housekeeping phase now, this provincials card is going to get discarded in the housekeeping phase. So rather than go up against Braddock with all those Virginia militia with him, I'm just gonna pass and just take a chance. So The markers that battles were fought are taken off. And we're into the third turn. Again, 4 cards. First card is a world event. Militia disbanded. Roll 1 die for each French and British card with militia in the title. So, the only ones that I have are the Quebec militia. I'm going to roll on a 1, 2, or 3. It's going to get discarded. It's a 2, so he's going to get discarded. So now he's out, and this card gets trashed. The British don't have any militia in their tableau, so that's not going to affect them. That's the first card. Second card. Oh, it's going to be another French leader, so I'm going to slide all this stuff over here. Vaudreuil. He comes in. He's also got a strength 4 in battalions. Mediocre also, as all of them are as they start. And he's got a special ability that he can reduce his reputation to deny the draw of a card that would help the British once per round. So that could be helpful there. Going for another card. Now we've got another British leader. This is Forbes coming on. So first I'm going to determine where Forbes goes. That's a 5. So that is the St. Lawrence space. So he's going to go up here. And now there's a lot of British leadership on the board, which was what the French experience was that they were being attacked from and challenged from all sides during this period. And I'm going to go for my 4th and final card. Oh, and it's another British leader. This time it is Shirley. And it's 6. Okay, 6 would also be St. Lawrence. So what I do is I compare the strength of these two. If he was stronger than Forbes, he would replace him. He is not in this case. So now he's going to go to the next priority spot. So he's going to go St. Lawrence, and then he would go to Champlain. So now I'm going to go to Champlain, and Shirley's empire value, which is his number of battalions plus the command level, is 4 versus Monroe, who is only 1 plus 2 is 3. So he's going to actually replace Monroe. And Monroe is going to be recycled because he potentially might come back. It's not entirely historically accurate. He's not actually coming back, but he's just being representational of a similar leader that might come back. Okay. That is, I got 2 cards, 3, 4 cards, so that's all the card draws. Now we are to the top of the British phase. Okay, there's still an equal number of leaders. There's 3 on the sides, so no British leaders need to be removed. And now they are going to advance their armies. So, it could be in any order that I want to. Actually, I'm sorry. It's in priority order. So, first on the priority is St. Lawrence. So, they're going to move out of Halifax into Louisbourg. He's got a 2 value, Forbes does, which means he could move those troops 2 spaces on the board, except for when he hits a fortress, like the one at Louisbourg, he has to stop and start a siege. So a siege starts very much like a battle. Battle, you roll initiative. So I have to figure out which one of my French leaders am I going to apply. And I'm going to go with Vaudreuil because he's a 4. He's going to give me the best shot there. His leadership is 1. Forbes is 2. So let's roll the dice first. Forbes got a 4. Vaudreuil got a 1. His leadership adds 1 to it. That's a 2. He's defending from the fort at Louisbourg. A fortress gives you another bonus. Goes up to 3. Forbes is going to be at the base roll of 4 plus 2 for his leadership. He's going to be 6. In this case, the British are going to have their first shot at the French here. The French are going to. The French are going to. The French are not going to add a card. Okay. But the British are going to automatically get this siege guns card committed to a battle at a fortress box, and indeed it is a major battle because there are 2 leaders fighting there. If there was only 1 leader on the side, that would be deemed a minor battle. So that's going to happen. You know what? He's going to go ahead and he is going to add these Troupes de la Marine there, which is going to give me 2 extra points when I'm shooting. Was that the one I? No, I'm sorry. It was Vaudreuil that I was committing because he's got a strength of 4. Not Langlade. Okay. So the British are going to fire first. They've got 3 plus 2. They've got 5 battalions, killing on 5s and 6s. That's 1. And they have 1 more die. No, so they get 1 hit on Vaudreuil, so it takes him down to 3. Okay. So now firing back, there's 2 plus 3. He's also going to have 5 dice hitting on 5s and 6s. There's 1. And 1 more. 2 hits. That is good. So my choice here is I could use this card to soak up 2 of those hits and not take the hits on Forbes. Oh no, they can't absorb. That's only with the French cards. I'm sorry. So he's going to go down from 3 to 1. This card says if the British win this battle, recycle this card, otherwise discard it. They've lost this battle because they took 2 casualties to 1. They lost that battle. That is going to get discarded. Forbes' reputation goes down by 1. Vaudreuil's goes up by 1. The army retreats back to Halifax. And then I look to see what the result is here with this card. They can absorb 1 hit suffered by the French at a battle. Discard after the battle only if it absorbs a hit or if the French lose or both, otherwise recycle this card. So it's going to be recycled because I didn't use it to absorb a hit. Right, I didn't use it to absorb a hit or I didn't lose the battle, so they're going to be recycled. So I've effectively pushed back there. So that was the first British move. Next is the St. Lawrence is the second most important. Upper Maine, St. Lawrence, Ohio Valley would be the next. So here it is, Braddock's. So Braddock's going to move 1 again because he's got a 1 command value. Now Vaudreuil has fought a battle, so he can't fight another battle this round. I've got 2 other leaders that I could use to fight against them. So I am going to, Braddock only has 1 battalion strength at this point, and I've got Langlade with 2, and so I am going to, I'm going to go ahead and fight them there too. Oh no, that's not, I'm sorry, that would be on the French turn. So he's just going to move there. Then finally, the next one after Ohio Valley is Champlain. This battle is going to go off. This is Ticonderoga. It's another fortress like Louisbourg, and that's going to happen. So Shirley and I have to commit a leader there. I am going to commit Diescu to this battle. Neither of us have any cards to commit to it, so we're just going to roll for initiative. The British get a 1, plus the leadership rating takes them to a 2. French got a 4, plus being at the fortress goes to a 5. French have initiative this round. No cards to add to it, so the French are just going to roll 3 for their battalion strength. 3 dice, killing on 5s and 6s. And I got 2 5s, which is a good result. So that's going to knock them from a 3 battalion points down to 1. Now the British are going to hit back with their 1 remaining battalion point, needing a 5 or 6. And they got a 2. No casualties. Shirley's reputation goes down 1. Diescu's goes up 1. He's now at the fame level. And this army of the Champlain Valley moves back to Fort William Henry. That's a good result for me. And now all the British armies have moved this round. That's the end of the British phase. Now we're into the French phase. I would rally and recall leaders. There's none there that are eligible. They're all in good standing in terms of reputation. There's an equal number of leaders, 3 to 3, so there isn't one that needs to be removed that way. I am going to get, and I have to mark, I fought with Diescu in that other battle. And that's important to mark those because only Langlade would be eligible to fight a battle should he wish now. So I'm going to add up my command points, 2, 3, 4. I go up to 4. Remember, as Diescu, I get another 1 at the end of the round. So I'm going to build more forts. I need to stop the oncoming. So I'm going to build one at Montreal. Montreal is not defended as a fort, so the British at the beginning of the game could just walk right into there. So that cost me 2 points. For another 2 points, I'm going to go ahead and put another fort at Saint Jean, also to kind of buoy this center area's defenses. That cost me another 2. So I'm down to just my +1 action point for Diescu at the end of the round. The other thing to keep in mind in this game, forts and trading posts are limited by the number of counters, so I've only got 5 of those left, and once they're eliminated from the game, they're gone forever if they're attacked, destroyed, and so on. So playing that is a key part of the French strategy. So I have 1 point. I only have 1 leader that's eligible, is Langlade, so I could open up another fight. I could try to push Braddock back some more. I could try to push Champlain back. I am going to go ahead and try to push Braddock out of the Ohio Valley a little bit more. So I'm spending that last point. I'm down to 0. Rolling for initiative. They're each going to get +1 on their roll. It's 5 and 5. It is a tie then, 6 to 6. If it is a siege, the British get to go. If it's a regular battle, the French get to go. So that's a lucky blow for the French. They have a 2 battalion points, so they're going to need 5s and 6s on 2 dice. They get a 6. That eliminates the last of Braddock's points. So, results of that. Langlade's reputation goes up to recognition. He gets marked that he's fought a battle. Braddock gets removed from the game, so he gets into the discard pile, not into the recycle pile. And this army gets pushed 1 space back in the Ohio Valley. So I eliminated Braddock, pushed the army back. got a lot done. I used all my leaders, built up their reputations, and that's the end of the round. So I take these markers off that they fought battles. I don't have to get rid of any French leaders because their reputations are all pretty solid. And then we're back to the fourth round, the next draw. 7 Years' War erupts. So right now this space gets marked that now we are at war. So in the subsequent turns, we're going to draw 6 cards each round. We are going to immediately shuffle the recycle bin and draw pile together. So this set of cards and this set of cards are going to be shuffled together. And then immediately you begin drawing 6 cards. So I'm going to shuffle all these cards up, and it's going to be 1 draw pile. And the object for the French is to finish a turn, a full round of all the sequences, and have this draw pile be empty. So with this thick pile of cards, you can see the challenge that it is for the French. Okay. So those are shuffled together. And we're going to draw 6 cards.
Okay.
In the draw pile. So first card, Montreal Militia. So that's an action card, so that goes into my hand. I'd have to play points in order to get that out. Second card, Wolf is going to come on the scene for the British. I'm going to roll to see where he shows up. That's a 5. Which is the spot that's currently occupied by Forbes. I'm going to compare. Wolf is a much stronger leader than Forbes, so he's going to replace Forbes. Forbes goes into the recycle bin. He's not been killed in battle, so he's not. I'm sorry, he goes into the recycle bin, not in the discard bin. And now the battalions are here. Reputation is at mediocrity for his starting point. Okay. I'm getting my third card, which is another action card for me, which allows me to spend a point to retreat a British army occupying a wilderness box. Second, I'm into my 4th card. British event, Royal Navy blockade. French cannot receive any new leaders or ship-marked cards for the rest of this turn and all of next turn. Recycle those cards if drawn, discard this card. So this is going to prevent me from getting specific kinds of cards on the board for the French. 5th card, it's a provincials card. That's going to go into play here in my tableau. It's Algonquin Indians. And then the 6th card, here's some British provincials. It's some grenadiers that go on the side of the British. So now we're into the British phase again. Rally and recall leaders. Leaders, I don't think, no, we're at 2 versus 3, so there's only a 1 difference, so they're going to stay. They're going to advance the lead armies first. Starts with Upper Maine. There's no leadership there. It's going to go right to St. Lawrence, and it's going to move on Louisbourg again. So, because there's a fortress at Louisbourg, there is going to be another siege there. The British have Wolfe on the scene. I have to choose which French general I'm going to commit. This provincials card tells me that I must use it at the very next major battle spot. Because there's going to be 2 leaders here, that's a major battle. This card has to be played. So my only option here is to commit a strong leader and the Algonquins, should I wish. I think I will, because this is a pretty significant battle. If I lost here, British would be able to roll through Louisbourg right up into here and be a couple spots away from Montreal. So I'm going to commit my Algonquin Indians to assisting Dieskau at this siege that the British are laying on Louisbourg with Wolfe and the provincial British Grenadiers present. So, first roll for initiative. British get a 4. They're going to add leaders. Wolfe's leadership, which is 2, goes to a 6. Dieskau goes to is 2 leadership, plus 2 is 4, plus 1 because it's at a fortress. There's nothing else, so it's 4 to 4, and in a siege, the British go first. So this might be kind of devastating for the French, because they've got a battalion strength of 7, plus 2 British Grenadiers is going to be 9 dice thrown, needing 5s and 6s. And there's 2 hits, 3 hits, 1 more die, 3 hits. 3 hits. So that is going to eliminate Dieskau, because the Algonquins can't soak up those so they lost this battle. They aren't even going to get a chance to shoot back. The provincials get discarded. Dieskau gets discarded because he was killed in battle. Wolfe goes up 1 in his credibility. And then his provincials card, if the British win or draw this battle, recycle this card. Otherwise, so they won it. It's going to go recycled back into here. And then because they won that battle, it's at a fortress, and so they have to stop. But they can move freely through it next round. All right. It was pretty devastating for the French to have Louisbourg fall. It sort of opened up the whole St. Lawrence area with a very strong leader behind them, with some limitations on the French on what they can do next. So that was the priority for the St. Lawrence. The next would be the Ohio Valley. There's no leadership there. Champlain, they're going to move on Ticonderoga again. Again, there's going to be a battle there. Neither of us have any extra cards to commit. I know this is going to be the only other battle that I have to do. I am going to commit Vaudreuil. Oh, I also lost Dieskau, so I don't get this bonus on action points anymore either. That was another blow for that. So I'm going to use Vaudreuil against Shirley. It's at a fortress. We're going to roll for initiative. British get a 1. I get a 4, which is going to give me tons because Shirley is going to be a total of 2, 1 plus his leadership rating. Vaudreuil is going to be 4 plus 1 is 5, plus the fortress is a 6. The French are going to fire first. French have a 3 battalion strength, rolling 3 dice, doing 5s and 6s. They miss them all though. Shirley's going to get 1 coming back. They miss also. That's a draw. In a draw, everything sits still. And that is going to, let me just double check that. I am sorry. They're at a fortress. If it is a, that battle's a draw. Army marker remains in place. If it was during the French phase, it's during the British phase, so it is going to retreat 1 box. So he's going to retreat 1 box. But it's a draw, so there's no change to reputation. And I have to mark that I actually fought a battle with Vaudreuil, so he can't fight anything else this round. Those are the 2 British armies that could move this round. Now it is to the French. There's no leadership replacement or removal. There's a 1-to-1 relationship here. We're going to get action points. That's 2 action points. 2 action points doesn't allow me to get much done, but I'm now very concerned about the St. Lawrence Valley, so I'm going to spend both of those action points. I don't want to get into another battle either, and I'm going to put a fort up here to hopefully slow down the British a little bit as they charge up towards the St. Lawrence River. I've spent all my action points. That's the end of that round. This card has been used twice in 2 rounds, so now it is going to come out of the game. Clean up the markers, and we're to the next round. Remember, I'm drawing 6 cards per round this time. World event. World tempo increases. Don't trash this card. Place it next to the draw and discard piles as a reminder that immediately and for the rest of the game, every one of these historic phases, you draw 1 additional card. And whenever a card is recycled for any reason, roll a die, and it might be discarded instead of being recycled. So this is going to speed up the game. So now I'm drawing 7 cards each round. So that was my first card. Second card, British event, British replacements. Replace 1 battalion on each active British leader. So he goes from 1 back up to 2. Doesn't apply here. That comes out. That's the second card. Third card, world event, British colonial disputes. 1 British army in track priority order cannot advance in the ensuing British phase. So, this is a good break for the French. I am going to mark that with an inactive leader marker, showing that Wolfe cannot move his army this round. So that's a good break for the French. That is my second card. Third card. No, 1, 2, 3. This is the fourth card. Another British event. English settlement. Place this card next to the action point track. This card remains in effect until I draw a non-blockaded ship marked card. So some of the cards have little ship markers on them for the French. I decide to immediately discard it without effect along with this card. So now this is going to limit until I can remove this card. If I had French leaders that had a greater leadership rating, the most they would have is 1 when getting leadership points, or action points each round. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another French leader, Levi. He comes on the board. He's pretty strong. He's got 6 battalions with him. And his special ability, as an action, I can draw 1 card from the discard pile randomly, examine it, and then place it in the trash or recycle bin. So that allows me to either get a card out of the game or back into the game from the discard pile. So that was the 5th card. 6th card, another French action. This allows me to pull a Indian card out of there and put it in here. And then my final card, another British event, another British replacements. There are no replacements to give, and so this is going to go in the recycling. All right, so all in, not a bad set of cards for the French. It's going to stop the St. Lawrence from moving anymore this round. No more British leaders came out. No more British supporting forces, militia, and so on came out. So yeah, British phase. Nobody comes in or out of the game for the British. We're going to advance the lead armies. The normal priority would be the St. Lawrence first. They've been stopped this round, so I'm going to go to Champlain. They move on Carillon again, and a battle automatically ensues. So, Shirley is back up to 2 battalion strength points. I just got Levi. I'm going to throw him in because he's a strength 2 commander, and he's got 6 battalions. I'm just going to check this card. Okay, this leadership only applies to action points, not in this. All right, so rolling for initiative. British get a 5. French get a 2. 2 and 2 is 4. Plus 1 for the fort goes to a 5. And the British have a 1. Plus the 5 is a 6. British get to attack first. There are 2 battalions present with Shirley. He's going to attack. 5s and 6s is what he needs. He gets 1. Levi takes 1 hit. But Levi's pretty strong. He gets 5 shots back, so he's going to get 5 dice. And that's 1 hit. I'm going to take 1 more. 1 hit. Total. So we each took a hit. We determined in ties the army gets pushed back. No change to the reputation tracks. So that wasn't so bad. I took a loss on both sides. I did push the British back, and there was no loss to reputations. So not a bad result. That's the end of the British phase because there's no more armies to move. On to the French phase. This card's limiting me to only 1 action point per card, so I've got a total of 3. Total of 3. So I'm going to get some of these cards from my hand onto the table. So I can use this card to discard this card. I should have done this when it was drawn. So, but I'm just going to say that's out. This is discarded. I'm going to use... I am going to use... what am I going to do? I am going to play 1 point to get the Montreal Militia on here. So I have 2 points left. I am going to hold off on this because I think I'm going to... Levy was the one that fought. I am going to attack. I am going to. What am I going to do? Am I going to attack? I'm going to build a. I am going to build a fortress. I could attack an army. I could do a minor skirmish here. And push them all the way back to the water. I'm not so concerned about the Ohio Valley right now, so I think I'm going to use this as an opportunity to put a trading post up here in Riviere for 2 points. That allows me to get some guys back as I start taking some losses from the French. All right, I've used up all of my action points. Markers come off. 0 action points. The inactive leader that paused Wolf's advance 1 turn comes off. Okay. 7 cards this round. I'm going to keep track here. First card. British event, scale the cliffs. Place on the tableau. Must be used on the next British assault, which is also a major battle. Add 2 to the commanding British leader's rating at that contested fortress. So this is going to be used at the next fortress siege. Second card. It's an action card that goes into my hand. This allows me to get buildings back in the game. Third card. French replacements. Roll a die and receive up to that number of replacements total. I am in need of a couple replacements, so let me roll that. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to spend money to play this card. That just goes into my hand. Fourth card. British event. Royal Navy sails up the St. Lawrence. So there's a Royal Navy marker. Attach the St. Lawrence Army unit to the Royal Navy marker and trash this card, which is this. So now I'm with the Royal Navy. Only remove this marker during a future housekeeping phase that an Army unit occupies Quebec. While attached, this marker adds +1 to the rating, which is right there, and combat strength of the St. Lawrence Army's current leader. So this just adds the Navy all the way up through to Quebec. This gets trashed. Fifth card. That's another French leader. It's good, lots of French leaders, gives me lots of options. Reputation, he's a 4 strength battalions. Sixth card. World event, Frontier and Flame. Roll a die, adding 1 for each Indian card. There's no Indian cards in the tableau. So this gets trashed. And then the final and 7th card is a British event. British developed light infantry. Place the British light infantry tactics. So there's a marker for that right here. Goes on the board. All British armies in wilderness boxes get light for the rest of the game, and then this is trash. So anytime the British fight in a wilderness territory, which are the green territories, they act as if they have light troops. And that's true because the British adapted to like wilderness light troop warfare as the war went on after the initial losses in the particularly in the Ohio Valley. All right, those are the cards. Which are the British phase? There's 2 leaders. They don't have to remove any right now. They're going to advance led armies. Okay, so the Royal Navy. The first priority is Upper Maine. There's no commander there. Then the St. Lawrence. He's going to advance here to this fort. And there is going to be a battle there. So I have to figure out who I'm going to commit. I am going to commit Levy because I think he's the one that gives me the best chance. He's got a rating of 2. He's got 5 battalions versus 7 plus 8. 1 is 8 battalions that Wolf has. I'm kind of in trouble up here on this upper track. So, first of all, rolling for initiative. That's a good break for the French. French is a 4 plus 2 is 6 plus 1 for the fort. Goes to a total of 7. Of 1 plus 2 is 3. So the French are going to get to fire first. So this may be a good break for the French. They're going to get 5 dice. That's a good break for the French because they get 3 hits and they got 1 more die. 4 hits. 4 out of 5 hits. All right, so this reduces him from 7 to 3. So he took 4 hits. Now the British only have 3 plus 1. They've got 4 dice coming back. Oh, and they get 3 hits. 1, 2, 3. Now, British took 4 hits. French took 3 hits. French win that battle. Reduces Wolf's reputation by 1. Increases Levy's by 1. Drives these guys back to Louisburg. So, if they had lost, that fort would have been removed and the British would have been there. So again, some lucky breaks for the French there, keeping the British away for the time being. Okay, next up, we moved here. Ohio Valley is not eligible because there's no leadership there. Champlain Valley. You got a 1. Shirley's going to move to Crillon. I am going to mark Levy as having fought already this battle because another battle is going to occur here. Again, I get my choice here, and I'm going to use Bourlagneau because he's got a battalion strength of 4, an officer rating of 2. Let's roll for initiative. British get a 6 plus their 1 goes to a 7. French have a 2 leadership plus 5 is 7, but they get plus 1 because they're defending the fort. French get to fire first. He's got 4 battalions with him. Let's see, 4. And I get 1 hit, which is enough to eliminate Shirley. Shirley gets eliminated because he's down to 0 battalions. He gets discarded. His army gets driven back 1. And my reputation goes up 1. And he's fought a battle. That's the British round. Wolfe tried to advance, was pushed back 1. There was the advance of Shirley up to Carillon, got pushed back, and loss of the leadership. Okay, so now it's the French turn. Now is a point where I'm going to have to remove some French leadership. So right now, there's only 1 British leader on the board, and there are 4. You can never have more than 1 more than the opposing player's number of leaders on the board. So I'm going to have to remove 2 of these British leaders, 2 of these French leaders. So there's a priority. I have to remove the leader with the lowest empire value, which is their leader rating plus battalions. So here I've got a 4, a 3, a 4, and a 6. So Levy is going to go away. Now he wasn't eliminated in battle, so he's going to go into the recycle bin. Okay, I still have to remove 1 more. So I've got 3, 6, 4. Langlade's going to also go away. All right. So now the balance is returned. I have 2 French leaders to 1. I only exceed the British leaders by 1. I'm all equaled up with the French leaders. I'm going to get action points. 2 for Bourlagnon and 1 for Vaudreuil. It goes up to 3 action points this round. 3 action points. So, what am I going to do? I am at 3, so I have some cards in my hand that I might want to get. No. I'm going to play 1 action point to play this Francois Piquet, who was a Jesuit priest, and I am going to recycle an Indian card from the discard pile. So I am going to pay 1 point for that. And I know I had an Indian. I got Algonquins, or I've got one dot. I'm going to put the Algonquins because they're a strength 3 card. I'm going to put them there. Now I've got 2 points left. I could start a battle someplace. I could play another card, or I could build another bit of defense. And I kind of feel like I want to build another defense here just to lock up the Ohio Valley. And that's it. That's it for the French round. I am going to remove the markers, and we're going to go to the next round. 7 cards, so I'm going to count those out again. First card. Fortunes of War. Trash this card and shuffle the discard pile. Then place a random card from the discard pile onto the recycle bin. So I'm going to go to the discard pile. And I'm going to randomly put a card back in, which is the British Provincials with a siege gear. That's my first card. Second card, World Event, French Command Dispute. Randomly determine one available French leader and place an inactive marker on that card. That leader cannot be used for any purpose for the remainder of this turn, unless you only have one. So I have to randomly choose which leader is going to be out. So I'll go odds, evens. And that's evens, that's Vaudreuil, and I'm going to mark him as being inactive this round. So he can't get anything done this round. That was my third card. Fourth card. British Event, Northwest Passage. If the Rogers Rangers card is not in the tableau, which it is not, the British Army, with or without a leader, in the highest numbered box, advances 1 box. Okay, so highest numbered. Each one of these boxes are numbered. So he's at a 3. He's at a 3. And he's at a 4. So he is going to move forward 1 box to there. Which means when we get to the British phase, there's going to be a battle there. Fifth card, another British leader, Murray. Determine where he goes. The 10 spot, he goes here in the Champlain. He has 5 battalions with him. 6th card, another British leader. This is Loudon. Determine where he goes. He's in the number 6 slot, which is St. Lawrence, which already has Wolfe there. Wolfe is a better general than him. Actually, 5 and 8 is actually going to replace Wolfe. I believe. Yeah, it's actually because it's the leadership plus the battalions. He's got 5, and he's got 8. So Wolfe is going to be recycled, and he's now Loudon is present, which means he's a little stronger there anyway. So that's a good move for the British. And then the final card draw, another French officer, Villiers, and he comes on the board with 3 battalions and his mediocre reputation. Okay. British turn. So again, we're going to act as if they just moved there, and there is going to be a battle at that fortress with Loudon versus somebody. And I'm going to, now Vaudreuil is not eligible this round. I'm going to use Boulignon. We're going to roll. Oh, wow, this is not going to be good for the French. They got a 6. French got a 1. 1 plus his leadership is 3, plus 1 for the fort goes to a 4. British is 1 plus 6 is 7, plus the Royal Navy is 8. British are going to fire first. British get 7 shots, needing 5s and 6s. There's 2 hits, 3 hits total. That reduces the French down to 1. So the French is going to fire back with 1. That's a 5, which is a hit. That is a loss for the French, which is bad there. So his reputation is going to go down by 1. This fort gets discarded. The French Navy is there. And his recognition goes up by 1. So now he's knocking right on Montreal and Quebec's back door here up in the St. Lawrence River Valley. Next is Murray, who could move 2, but he's going to stop at Carillon. I'm going to mark him as having fought. My only leader to commit to that battle is going to be Villiers. We're going to roll for initiative there. Murray's got a 2 leadership. This is better for the French this time. 5 for the French, plus 1 leadership is 6, plus 1 for the fort is 7. Murray is 2, plus 1 is 3. French are going to fire first. They get 3 shots, needing 5s and 6s. They got 2 hits, which reduces Murray down to 3. He's going to fire back with 3. He only gets 1 hit. It's a good break for the French. French win that fight. Reputations adjust. And he's pushed back 1. They both took a hit, but the French did the important thing and pushed the British back. Okay. French phase. There is only... This is an inactive leader. He just fought a battle. He fought a battle. So we're going to get 4 points. And I could get some cards on the board. I could use a point to repair. Let's see. What do I want to do? So I'm going to play a point and do this French assistance, which allows me to return a trash fort marker to the supply, which I just did. And then that's trashed. Then I am going to play this French replacements for 1, where I roll a die to receive that many replacements. I got 3 replacements. That's great. So I'm going to take, let's see. I'm going to take 3 here. So he's back up to 4. And that's going to get trashed down here too. I'm sorry. Those go into the discard. Those go to discard, not trash. So that was 2 points played. I have 1 trading post, which allows me to spend 1 to get another point back for somebody, and I am going to get a point back for Vaudreuil. And then I have 1 point left over, which means I could attack somebody, but I can't because everybody's attacked, so I'm going to just lose that point this round. And you can't bank points to the next round. Okay, so take the markers off. He's going to be active next time. And reset the cards. And we're on to the next round. 7 cards. First card. New campaign. Shuffle the discard pile and randomly deal out 1, 2, 3 cards from it. Your choice. 1, 2, or 3. Face down, restoring the remaining cards back to the discard pile. So I am going to... oh, man. Okay. So I'm just going to pull 1 card. Remaining cards back to the... Shuffle the discard pile. I'm sorry. Wrong thing. Shuffle the discard pile. Randomly deal 1, 2, or 3 cards from it. Your choice face down, restoring the remaining cards back to the discard pile. Now I am going to shuffle this and the recycle bin into the draw pile, and then I'm going to extend this phase by having 7 more cards drawn. So I've just put like a card from the discard randomly back into the deck. I'm shuffling this all back up. It extends the game a little bit because I have now made my draw pile larger, and I'm going to draw 7 more cards. Okay, 1 card. This is a provincials card for the French. 2nd card, that's another provincials card for the French, which plays to the tableau. It's Indians. 3rd card, I'm going to get a card for my hand. It's a brilliant maneuver action. 4th card, it's another action. It's an ambush, which allows me to stop the British from a move in a wilderness space. 5th card, Abercrombie. So I'm going to roll to see where Abercrombie comes in. Abercrombie comes in on the 4 space, which is the St. Lawrence space. So Abercrombie is a rating of 1 plus 5 is 6 versus Loudon, which is 1 plus 6 is 7. So Abercrombie's got to find another place. So I go from St. Lawrence to Champlain. He's worth 2, 5 to 6. He's going to be put into here and replaced with Abercrombie. Okay. 6th card coming up. It's another action card that allows me to examine cards in the draw pile, and I can recycle 1 of them. Okay, that's cool. And then my final 7th card, British get some provincials, Last of the Mohican Indian cards. So that's some additional Indians to help out the British in a battle. All right. So we're on to the British phase. British don't have to remove any leaders because there's 2 to our 3. There's only 1 difference. That's fine. British armies advance. This is going to go to Quebec, and there's going to be a battle there. And let me just see. I'm going to reference this card just to see whether or not that Quebec, those fleets apply to actually a battle in Quebec. When you occupy Quebec. Okay, so they're going to participate in this battle. All right. Quebec is going to happen. This provincials can only be used in a wilderness box. So they're not going to participate with Loudon, but I have to figure out who I am going to use against Loudon attacking Quebec. if anybody. Montreal Militia doesn't apply. I am going to use this siege train. Could only be used in a fortress battle. It gives me 2 more strength points on the attack, and I am going to. That would give me 6 to their 6. Yeah, I'll just apply that. Okay. Rolling for initiative. And I've got 2 dice rolling initiative. That is a 5 for the British and a 4 for the French. 4 and 2, leadership rating 6, plus 1 for the fort goes to 7. His is 6, 7 also. It's a tie when the British are attacking a fort, and it's a tie. British go first. So the British are going to get 6 for his battalions, 1 for the Royal Navy. He's going to get 7 dice, needing 5s and 6s. Got 2 on that first throw. 4 total. That is devastating. That eliminates Beaumanieu. He is discarded. French lost this battle. That gets discarded. This is going to go away. British Navy goes away. His reputation goes up. And now they are 2 steps away from Montreal. Next is Abercrombie. Abercrombie is going to move to Carillon. He is going to be attacked by the French. I am going to defend with the Villiers, and I'm going to use my Montreal Militia because it is on the Champlain track, which they're eligible to be used on. So we're rolling for initiative. British get 2 plus 1 is a total of 3. French get 3 plus 1 is a total of 4 plus a 4. French are going to roll first. French have a total of 4 battalion points. They get 1 hit, which is not great. And now the British fire 4 back. They get 1. It's a tie. There's no change to everybody's reputation. Important thing, British get pushed back. Okay, that holds the center a little bit. It's the end of the British turn. And let's see, I need to mark who fought. That was Villiers that fought. Vaudreuil hasn't. So I've got 2 command points. And if the French win or draw this battle, recycle this card, otherwise discard it. So that gets recycled. Okay. I get 2 command points total. It's not great. I'm going to spend both of them. I'm going to put a fort here in Trois-Rivières along with this trading post. A trading post and a fort can occupy the same spot. I've used all my command points, so I can't, open up a battle or anything like that. End of the French turn. Going to go to 7 cards. First card, Royal Naval Blockade. French cannot receive any new leader or ship mark cards for the rest of this turn and all of next turn. Recycle those cards. Discard this card at the end of the historique phase following one in which it was drawn. Recycle the other Royal Navy Blockade card if drawn. Well, this one. Okay, so that's going to block some things we have. Second card. It's an action to mobilize colonials. Third card. French. So this is going to block me. French cannot receive any new leader or ship-marked cards for the rest of this turn. Recycle those if drawn. Goes in the recycle pile. Fourth card. Some more Troupe de la Marine. Fifth card. Moncton, British leader. Let's see where he shows up. 7. He's going to be in the Ohio Valley. There's an empty space for him there. He is going to go in with a reputation of mediocre and 3 battalions. And 6th card. It's another action card for the French that allows me to draw extra cards. And then the 7th card, Fortunes of War. Trash this card and shuffle the discard pile. Then place a random card from the discard pile into the recycle bin. So I'm going to shuffle this and put a random card into the recycle bin. Okay. That's Shirley back in the mix. Okay. British turn. They have 3 leaders. There's 2 French leaders. The balance is okay. There's only 1 difference there. Okay, it's going to start with priority is Upper Maine would move first, which there's nobody there, and the St. Lawrence. They're going to move on Trois-Rivières. So that's Loudon. They are don't have anybody to commit. So let's roll for initiative. I am going to commit my better leader, Vaudreuil. And I am going to commit my Shawnees. That is in a wilderness space, even though I've built a fort there. So they have the light troops bonus. Okay. British also get the light troops bonus because they have this, so we're each going to get a +1 for that. Okay, so Loudon is 3 + 1 is 4, plus the light troops is 5. Vaudreuil is 2 + 1 is 3, plus the fort, plus the light troops bonus is 5. It's a tie. British fire first in a siege against a fort. So they're going to get 6 dice, 5s and 6s. That's 1 hit. 2 more dice needed. 2 hits. 2 hits on Vaudreuil. Vaudreuil fires back with his Shawnees. That is a total of 3 dice, needing 1 hit. Getting 1 hit. That is not great. So, reputation goes down for Vaudreuil. Goes up for Loudon. And Loudon destroys this fort and trading post. And those come out. Okay. Next up, next order would be Champlain. So again, they're going to move here. Oh, and I have to mark that Vaudreuil fought. And if the French win this battle, they discard this because they lost the battle. Okay, Villiers is going to have to fight against Abercrombie here at Carillon. Boy, there's that back and forth in the Hudson River Valley at Lake Champlain. Very much like what happened during the war, that back and forth from Fort William Henry to Ticonderoga. Let's see. So, Villiers is a 1. Abercrombie is a 1. French have a 6 + 1. For the leadership is 7, plus the fort is 8. British only have a 1 + 1 is 2. French will fire first. They only get 2 shots. They miss both. This could be a break for the British. Abercrombie gets 3. He gets none. It's a tie. No change to the reputations, but the British do get bounced back because it was a tie in the battle. Okay. Finally, in the Ohio Valley, Moncton is going to move the army up here to Fort Duquesne. I don't have any leaders. I've committed all my leaders. So this is going to be a minor battle. It's assumed that the leadership is a 0 on the British side, so I'm going to roll initiative as if I had a 0. British get a 2 plus 1. I got a 2 plus 1 for the fort. It's a 3, but British are attacking a fort, so they're going to assume that they get the initiative. Now, this card does get committed to this because it's used in the second battle fought in the wilderness. We fought that battle in the wilderness, then this one, so this is going to get committed. All they need is 1 hit to win this battle. And they did. They got a 5 and a 6. They got 2. They destroy this fort at Fort Duquesne. Reputation goes up 1. And that's it. If the British win this battle and suffer no casualties, recycle this card. So that card gets recycled. Wow, pretty devastating turn for the British, getting 1 step away from Montreal and 1 step away from Fort Duquesne. I think it's going to be pretty hard for the French. French don't have any leaders that can activate, but I am going to get their 2 points. And the most I could do is get some cards in play. What am I going to do? Place fort markers aren't going to help me at this point. Replacements. I'm going to do that for 1. I am going to roll a die and receive that many replacements. So I am going to get 1 replacement. So he's going to go to 3. That costs me 1 point. And what other card am I going to get? I am going to get I am going to one of the additional battles turn with 1 added. This rating. Timely intelligence. I am going to I can't play any of these cards. Alright, so I'm going to lose that last point. Alright, back to the historique phase. These markers come off as battles fought. I'm going to draw 7 cards. First card, George Washington for use in the Ohio Valley. Second card is a British event, British command shakeup. Reorganize British leaders so that the one with the highest empire level is placed in command of the St. Lawrence. I think that's the case right now. That's 1 plus 5 is 6. 1 plus 3 is 4. 1 plus 3 is 4. So that is the case. So third card, it's an action card into my hand. Fourth card, provincials, some Indians for me. Sixth card, Acadians expelled. Discard if the St. Lawrence Army is in its number 1 or number 2 box. It is in its number 1 or number 2 box, so that's going to get discarded. And then the final card, British event, the Ohio Company. If the Ohio Valley Army is in its number 3 or 4 box, it is not. Discard this without effect. Okay. British turn. So the British have, they don't have to recall any leaders. They are going to move priority to St. Lawrence. The St. Lawrence Army is going to move on Montreal and attack first. So that's going to be a siege. I am going to commit my strongest leader, who is Vaudreuil, and the provincials against Loudon. I am going to roll for initiative. The French get a 5 plus 1 is 6, plus the fort is 7. British have 3 plus 1 is 4. French are going to fire first. They get 3 for Vaudreuil and 2 for the Indians helping, so that's 5 dice. That's 1 hit, 1 more, 2 hits. That's good. 1, 2. Okay. The British are going to fire back with 3 dice. They get 1 hit. French win that battle. They get pushed back 1. Reputation goes up 1. Reputation goes down 1. I live to fight another day by defending Montreal. And then if the French win this battle and suffer no casualties, recycle. I did suffer a casualty. It gets discarded. This event is out now. Next up is Champlain Valley. They move on Carillon again. The only one there that can defend is Villiers. Villiers is going to roll initiative against Abercrombie. They each add 1. Plus Villiers gets another 1 for the fort. French are going to fire first with 2 dice, needing 5s and 6s. They miss. Abercrombie gets 3 dice. He gets a hit. Villiers takes a hit. And he goes up 1. And the British Army is now through Fort Carillon and moving up through the northern part of Lake Champlain. Finally, Moncton here in the Ohio Valley, who just burned down Fort Duquesne last round, he will commit George Washington. He has to be used in the Ohio Valley. There's no leadership here, so all that's going to happen is a roll of initiative. Oh, he's moving 1, sorry. French get a plus 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2 because there's no leader there. I don't get any other bonuses. Moncton is going to get 1 plus 2 is 3. British are going to fire first, including George Washington. That's going to be 4. They get at least 1 hit, burn that fort to the ground at Oswego, and the recognition goes up by 1. George Washington, if the British win this battle, suffer no casualties, recycle this card. It's recycled. Pretty good turn for the British. They've closed in. They are within 1 slot of both Montreal from Trois-Rivières and Oswego. I'm going to call it there because I've been in this position before. The British have pretty effectively moved in from 2 sides within a point. I don't have enough leadership to defend. I'm not going to get through this next round. I'm not going to be able to fight back at all anymore this round. And I just, having played this game a bunch of times, it's very difficult, very challenging for the French to win this game. Building up defenses, keeping the British at bay early on, managing your limited resources, making choices on getting cards in play versus getting forts in play is very important. And as the game amps up, there's more and more powerful British cards that come on, more powerful British leaders, and so on. So that's the game. Like I said at the beginning, I love the French and Indian War period. I think this captures it really well in a 1-player game. My other favorite French and Indian War game is Wilderness War from GMT. This, 1-player game there, 2-player game there. It feels very similar in like ebbs and flows and so on. I find those to be like the two, like my 2 choices is my go-to for French and Indian War, sort of like the whole war sort of approach. So thanks for joining me. check out. I'm on social media on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and I have a website, Brooklyn Wargaming. They're all Brooklyn Wargaming. I post a lot about particularly the French and Indian War period and all the other games I play. And thanks a lot, and I'll come back next Friday with something else. Have a good weekend.